Hi, everybody. Well, the corona crisis is, changing the world. As I used to say recently, we are right in the middle of a huge historical change, and the corona crisis accelerates this change. Particularly when you look at the global picture of what has been going on and what is going on now and what will happen in the near future, then you can see it's a big change going on. Why I say so? Because no matter you like it or not, there are two powers in the world, that is USA and China, who has a strong influence on our world. So the relationship between those two countries have a decisive influence, or is a decisive factor for the global situation. You know that USA and many other countries, UK, Australia, Japan, even Germany and Italy and many others, a long list of countries, are now either have already started a kind of legal measure to sue China or to sue a CCP for their cover-up of the coronavirus. I mean, the most toughest one is, of course, USA. In US, you have already the state of Missouri have already officially sued the Chinese government for covering up and demand for compensation. That is the most serious. But also, President Trump has criticized that, and this Secretary of State Pompeo has very clearly criticized that the Chinese cover-up of the pandemic has caused many people's life and huge economic losses. Australian Prime Minister talking in a similar term, UK Foreign Minister talking in similar term, and even Germany, which has been quite mild. So even the German Chancellor, Angela Merkel, recently said she wants to see more transparency in China in the handling of such an epidemic. The list is long. And even in countries like Italy and Spain, who have had a very cooperative and close relationship to CCP's China, words of critique are coming. For example, Italy and Spain are going to demand for compensation for all those masks they have bought from China, which doesn't work. They want to get refund. So it is why I talk about that, because we should understand that the relationship between, on one side, USA and the West, and all the democratic and free countries, on the other side, China, it was a kind of honeymoon period. Yeah, I would say roughly it started slowly, the honeymoon time. Yeah, in the 80s when Deng Xiaoping, so to say, flirted with President Jimmy Carter, and try to show a smiling face and hiding their strength and asking for help, asking for cooperation and all this. It started, a kind of honeymoon time, and the honeymoon time became really honey. I would say since the American president, in this case Bill Clinton, helped China to become a member of the World Trade Organization. And that was like a turbo machine for the Chinese economy. So Chinese economy went up, like a rocket in the last 20 years. And many capitalists in Wall Street, in London, and in Frankfurt, make a lot of profit out of it. Yeah, that is true. And also China got a chance to make a lot of money, but also to get access to Western high technology and of course the capital itself. Yeah, so that was a honeymoon. But the honeymoon started to see the end when America got a new president called Donald Trump. because before he became president, he was already criticizing this unbalanced trade, right? And he's demanding for a reciprocal relationship between U.S. and China. Reciprocal in the meaning that what I allow you to do in America, you should also allow me to do in China, and vice versa. That's the reciprocal. You know, like China, for example, could make use of the open and democratic free society and to do a lot of things like infiltrating the media and buying high-tech sensitive company. You try to buy a Huawei tomorrow in China, I can guarantee you no chance, yeah? No matter how many billion you show. Yeah? What I want to say is the honeymoon started to see the end when Trump started with his new policy against China. But it was not easy, because you should know that, as I mentioned, the capitalists in Wall Street were so happy to be able to move the factory from U.S. to China and get things manufactured much cheaper and all this, yeah? And their profit grow. They don't care. I mean, capitalists, it's not their job to care about. That's what they think. National security, human rights, and all this, yeah? It's not their business. They are just to make profit. So Trump has a lot of resistance, but he pushed on in his way. But the corona crisis actually has helped Donald Trump. Of course, the opponents of Donald Trump, they claim that, Donald Trump is making a lot of mistake in handling this corona crisis, and so this is no good for him. He may even lose his election this year. I don't think so, because the corona crisis helped him a lot. Why? Because he wants to tell the American people and the people of the whole world, you know, the Communist Party of China has been cheating us, American, and also all the people in the democratic and free countries. They have been cheating us. They have taken advantage. They make use of our freedom, our openness, yeah, and took a lot of things from us. But their society is totally closed. Yeah, they make use of our freedom of press, so they can even put in China Daily in Washington Post every day, but you can never do the opposite. So this is really interesting. Now, the corona crisis has made so many people to wake up, even the capitalists in Wall Street, because who is losing money now? Also these capitalists. They have found out two things. One thing is, because of the cover-up of CCP, yeah, CCP cover-up of the coronavirus, so that's why so many people get infected. And also they find out that because they were investing so heavily in China and having such a contact, the section of contact, yeah, the communication and the so-called cooperation between all these New Yorker and China. That is another reason to cause so many infected and so many death cases in New York. So they are waking up. You know, they are. You know, you have to think about even in their mind. You know, you cannot just have advantage. You have to look at all the disadvantage you have got. And when they find out that the disadvantage is so big that it's not worth to get those advantage, then they change their mind too. And for those people, like a common American, American worker, that they understood already long time ago, and that's why they gave the vote to Donald Trump. Now, the game is like that. China or Chinese Communist Party, they know, they found out later, after maybe 1 or 2 years that Donald Trump being the president, they found out that Trump is not an easy guy for them. So they try very hard, even more than before, to get Europe on their side, yeah, and to isolate U.S. With some success in the past 20 years. But, you know, coronavirus has changed that too. I mean, look, UK foreign minister was saying we have to reconsider our policy as regards the 5G and Huawei. They never said that before. Now they said it, We cannot let a manufacturer from such a regime to enter our telecommunication because they have no transparency. You cannot trust them. They lie and they make trick, right? And many other countries are coming. You will see. So you can say the power balance is changing. You know that the Chinese Communist Party, they understand very well. The power is not only depending on how many rockets and how many aeroplanes you have, but also in the mind of the people. If we all think that the Chinese Communist Party actually is a good force, is a force of mercy, then we are in big danger. But if most people think, this is an evil force, then I tell you, then they will not have much chance to win the real war. They are preparing for war. You have to understand. While we in the West are busy about human rights, about environmental protection, climate changes, and refugee problem, the Chinese Communist Party having that moving forward in their cyber war and the media war, economic war, financial war, and so on. So they are quite happy of what they have managed in the last 30 years. But things are changing now. So it's interesting. Now, and one of the most dramatic change I could see, and that is the Chinese now notice that maybe Russia can be their alliance. I mean, okay, they have, of course, in alliance with North Korea and Iran and maybe Cuba, but these are not big power. But Russia is a big power. But although it looked like that Russia seems to be quite friendly, quite close to China, but I tell you, it's not true. I've always telling people that, the Putin will never be a true comrade in arms with the Chinese Communist Party. I give you some example now. Who was one of the first two countries who closed the border to China? Although China say that no need, this is unfair. It was Russia. I mean, first was North Korea. A few days later was Russia, right? Now, recently, Russia is throwing out all Chinese, even if they are not infected. Just because they are Chinese, they throw them out. So that China closed the border and don't allow any more to come. Now, even worse of all, that make Chinese Communist Party leader difficult to sleep. And that is recently, just a few days ago, the 26th of April, it was the 75 years anniversary of the historical event, and that is the Russian or Soviet Russian army and the American army met in a bridge over the river of Elba near Dresden in Germany to join their forces to fight Hitler, right? So normally, there's no big deal. But this time, Donald Trump and Putin make a common declaration. Interesting. In the declaration, they of course first memorize the historical event, but they also say, we will continue to work together, or even if we have differences, we should work together to fight the fascism in the world and the evil in the world. So they never mention who is the new fascist, but I think it's interesting to think about that. And I am quite sure that America and Donald Trump and his people, they have a strategy to unite with Russia to fix the problem of CCP. Maybe not as close as a real ally, but at least on their side. Okay, so much for today. The war is interesting, and more interesting thing is going to happen. And if you like it, don't forget, subscribe or click like it, and have a good time. Bye-bye.